The story begins with our virgin loser protagonist, Noir Stardia, waking up in the morning. He is the third son of a lower-ranking noble with no hopes for the future, no remarkable magical skills, and only one friend. After barely passing elementary school, he decided to start his life as a librarian rather than wasting money on higher education because he wanted to earn money rather than burden his already useless dad. Today is his big debut at the 9-to-5 job, so he dresses up and goes downstairs, but then his dad bows in front of him and informs him that a Viscount's son has snatched his position as a librarian, so he won't be able to grind his hairy ass on that job. After this, he explains that in their aristocratic society, every noble has a rank that determines how much respect they get. Unfortunately, his family is stuck with a baronetcy, the lowest rank of nobility, which means that the high-ranking folks can snatch away their gigs and treat them like the leftover trash they are. However, this news saddens Noir Stardia, but he then tells his dad to raise his ugly face and mocks him, saying he can't stand him anymore. Upon hearing this, his dad panics and tells him that he knows that his puny hairy ass is burning with anger, but advises him to stay calm. However, he then asks his shitty dad what he will do now. Just then, his sister Alice comes in and declares that whoever stole her brother's useless job will beat him up for her ugly brother. However, he tells her that the Viscount's son is responsible for the mess, but we shouldn't finger his thick ass, as it will make the situation worse. Just then, Alice suggested he take the entrance exam for Hero Academy because those who graduate from there can become monster hunters or royal knights, and it's an opportunity for him to improve his worthless life. However, he refused, saying he could never pass that exam, but Alice successfully persuaded him, so he decided to attempt it. Later, we see him wandering around the city like some homeless bum. At that moment, he meets his childhood friend Emma and her massive, bouncing calcium cannons. She is a baron, which means she ranks higher and is wealthier than him. Despite her high status, she joyfully tells Noir that she's very eager today to waste her life as a librarian with him, to which he informs her that he's been replaced by the Viscount's son. Upon hearing this, she becomes visibly upset, prompting him to ask why she is taking the news harder than his morning would. She then reveals that she has good news about his great sage skill. We find out that it is a scarce skill that tells him everything about the world when he asks, and his parents were overjoyed when his skill was tested at the church. However, he doesn't use this skill because every time he does, he gets a soul-numbing headache that burns the cells from his brain to his hairy ass. Just then, she revealed that while reading an ancient text, she discovered that the great sage Merlin also suffered from headaches but relieved his pain by kissing his wives. She shyly asked if he wanted to try it, to which Virgin Noir responded that she wanted to do it, making her blush with embarrassment. After this, Noir moves in to kiss her, but she stops him and asks him to find a better place. Later, when they reach the highest rooftop in the city, Emma then asks him to do it. He moves in and sucks her lips deeply, but then his right hand is ready for his usual pathetic self-pleasure routine. However, she grabs his hand, making him realize he no longer has to do that. He then activates his great sage skill, and an old man with a beard that looks like a horse's ass appears in front of him. He then asks him how he can become stronger to pass the Academy's exam, to which he instructs him to find a hidden dungeon. Noir then asks where the nearest dungeon is, and he tells him that a cave 15,000 meters southwest from here contains an infinite labyrinth. Just then, he began to experience a severe headache, so he asked Emma for a first aid kiss. She then gave him a deep kiss, which relieved his headache. Later, he located the hidden cave and entered it. He then presses a switch, which brings him in front of a large door that surprises him. After a moment of hesitation, he recalls the spell the old man had told him for opening the large door. He then shouts the spell, "I'm not a meteorologist, but we can expect a few inches of vanilla tonight," which activates and opens the door. As he enters, he hears a woman's voice that startles him, but the voice instructs him to go to the second floor. However, with no other option, Noir blindly followed the voice until he reached a room, where he saw a hot, sexy corpse bound in chains, and he couldn't stop himself from gawking at every inch of her body, including her ass and over-the-top calcium melons. He then asked if she was alive, so she used telepathy and asked him to touch her pussy. Sorry, I mean touch her head. When he did that, She communicated telepathically and introduced herself as Olivia's servant, a self-proclaimed super adventurer. She then tells him that she had somehow discovered a hidden dungeon and killed the monsters inside, but then a trap was activated, and she was trapped in it, which has kept her captive for the last 200 years. Upon hearing this, Noir wanted to remove her chains, but she revealed that if anyone tried to open them, she would die because these chains are known as death chains. When he asks why she has called him, she explains that she wants to alleviate her loneliness by developing plots. Hearing this, our boy laughs, but then she tells him that he has guts in his ass, so he was able to find the dungeon. But he reveals that it was his skill that brought him to the dungeon. She then asks him his name and the reason for coming here, to which he introduces himself as Noir Stardia and tells her that he has come here to become the most powerful. Upon hearing this, she felt sorry for him and offered him her skill since she couldn't do anything with it. When he touched her forehead, her skills immediately transferred to him. She then explained the skills to him. The first is the creative skill, which can create any skill that comes to his mind except hentai-related ones. The second is the bestow skill, which allows him to bestow the skills he develops to other people or objects. And lastly, the editor skill, which lets him edit the skills he or others possess. However, she tells him that he needs life points to use these creative, bestow, and editor skills. If his life points reach 0, he will die, so he has to do some things that make him feel good. So his satisfaction will turn into life points, such as clapping cheeks, eating delicious food, and having a girl's OnlyFans account for money. After that, he checked his life points, which were 550, and then she told him to try out his flashy new skills elsewhere. Later, he encounters a slime, so he creates a stone bullet using 50 life points and fires it at the monster, defeating it. However, this leaves him feeling ridiculously weak and drained, like he spent the last hour on a one-hand mission in the bathroom. That night at home, Virgin Noir tried to restore his life points by resting his head in his obsessive sister's lap, but this proved largely ineffective. The next day, we see him sitting on a bench waiting for Emma, and just then she arrives wearing a sexy dress that exposes her big milky assets. She sits her ass down next to him, and he looks her up and down before telling her that she looks a little different and more reserved in this outfit. She blushes and says that perverted guys keep staring at her milk tankers, so she's trying to hide them. Hearing this, he responds that he doesn't think she's hiding her tits very well in that outfit, which makes her pissed. Suddenly, he asks her for a hug, and just the thought of it makes her panties immediately soaked, but she agrees. As he hugs her tightly and presses his chest against her milky honker, his life points increase even more. However, we find out that a few hours earlier, he had telepathically talked to Olivia and asked her for cheat codes to easily pass the Hero Academy entrance exam without breaking a sweat, to which she tells him she wasn't going to help his pathetic attempt at cheating, but she had a soft spot for him. Instead of completely crushing his hopes, she gave him a new skill called Discerning Eyes, which scans and gathers information about every living and non-living thing, but it requires 300 life points to use. After sucking up enough life points from Emma, he activated his Discerning Eyes, which he used to check Emma's stats. At that moment, she complains that her shoulders are stiff from the weight of her melons, and hearing this, our boy immediately uses his creative skill and starts to gradually flatten her large calcium melons, leaving her surprised when she sees them shrink. After flattening her tanks, he remarks that some guys prefer small plots, but she yells at him to make her melons big again. So he returns her melons to their original size while joking that he is not a fan of small and flat melons, and that this useless act wastes his life points. A few days later, the long-awaited entrance exam day finally arrives. Noir looks around at everyone and reflects that barons and viscounts are completely different from a worthless baronet like him. Just then, the examiner explains that they have to form a team of 3 and their job is to collect raw materials from the monsters, and then they will be judged based on how much they bring and how rare the material is, and if they return empty-handed, they will fail. After the explanation, he mustered the courage and approached a group of boys to form a team, but they quickly rejected him, calling him a stinky piece of trash from a baronet. Undeterred, he tried to connect with others, only to be rejected at every turn like a bad Tinder date, making him feel like the universe was giving him a cosmic middle finger. In the midst of his despair, Emma appeared out of nowhere, grabbed his hand, and announced that she had ditched her librarian gig to stick by him, assuring him she was part of his team. At that moment, a girl strolled over to them and offered to join their team. She introduced herself as Lenore, but when Noir tried to introduce himself, she cut him off with a dismissive wave, saying she wasn't interested in remembering the name of some worthless baronet. However, just then, the examiner declared they had until noon tomorrow and kicked off the exam. After that, everyone rushes off to Walmart. But then Lenore pipes up and suggests they split up. As she was leaving, she turned around and looked at him and said she hoped he'd hunt for some rare materials instead of wasting time just having fun with his whore. Meanwhile, Noir turns to Emma, asking her to wait for him while promising he will return as quickly as possible. Later, we see him on the 3rd floor of the dungeon, where he encounters a level 99 Grim Reaper monster, a colossal nightmare eager to turn him into a hot, steamy stack of shit with a single swing of its deadly scythe. At that moment, the Reaper attacks him, but he manages to dodge all its strikes. He then considers negating Reaper's one-hit scythe attack skill, but it requires too many life points. Instead, he uses a spell on him that makes the Reaper's body heavier, significantly slowing him down. However, this leaves Noir so exhausted that he collapses and can barely erect. After mustering up his guts, he quickly moved towards it and, dragging his ass, went behind the Reaper. He then creates a massive stone bullet and attacks with tremendous force, causing the Reaper to shatter into countless useless pieces. He then seizes the Reaper's skull and quickly makes his escape. After a while, when it was time to reveal the rankings, and the examiner started announcing the top 3 teams, Noir's balls trembled at the thought that they might fail, especially since Olivia had earlier insisted that the Reaper's skull was as useless as he was. However, everyone was shocked when their team broke the entrance exam record and took 1st place, thanks to the skull he had included in the Walmart materials. He telepathically asked Olivia if she hadn't called the skull trash. She laughed and replied that she hadn't known people would turn poop into gold. After reaching home, everyone in the family was in a lightened mood, especially his shameless dad, who was wagging his ass like a loyal dog. But Noir became a bit worried when he saw the Hero Academy's enrollment fee, which was very expensive. The next day during breakfast, Alice hugged him while their parents watched with poker faces. Alice then decided he would be the new head of the house due to his recent achievement, which drove their worthless dad crazy. When Noir mentioned the enrollment fee, his father claimed he had some savings. However, when his father hears that the amount is 300,000 reals, he tearfully reveals that he would need a year to gather the money. Noir then decides to raise the money rather than depend on his dad, but I wonder how this ugly dad got such a beautiful wife.
What do you mean by that?
Later, he went to the dungeon to meet Olivia and discuss the issue of the enrollment fee. Olivia suggested he should kill rare monsters in the dungeon and sell their items, but Noir rejected the idea. However, he explained that he preferred to avoid drawing attention to himself, especially after the entrance exam, because he had convinced Lenore to take credit for the Reaper's head that he had defeated during the exam, knowing that no one would believe a worthless baronet like him could achieve such a feat. Hearing this, she directed him to work at the Adventurers Guild. After reaching the guild, he encounters a scary adventurer who fills him with a chilling fear in his puny ass and then leaves. Just then, a hot, sexy, and beautiful receptionist named Lola introduces herself to him and asks him if he's new to the Adventurers Guild, to which he says yes. She then patiently explains their system to his puny moron mind that in Odin's guild, adventurers have different ranks and perform various quests such as harvesting plants, defeating monsters, and exploring hidden dungeons. However, those adventurers who consistently deliver excellent results gradually level up their ranks. After that, she handed him a registration form to list his skills. When he saw he had to write down his skills, he hesitated, as if he'd just been asked to reveal his deepest incognito secrets. At that moment, Lola seductively assured him that any information he provided would be kept strictly confidential. Hearing her tempting words aroused him so much that his third leg started saluting in his pants, but despite the distraction, he somehow managed to focus and write down his skills. When she reads about his skills, he tells her that the skills name, creative, and editor might seem odd to her. However, she replies that she is familiar with these skills because they belong to Olivia's servant, who was a member of the guild a long time ago. but then his useless mouth blurts out that he considers her his master. Hearing this, Lola gets slightly pissed off because she frequently encounters worthless people like him from time to time who claim to be Olivia's successor. However, she takes out a magical book called Discerning Tome to uncover the truth and informs him that placing his hand on it will reveal his true skills, making Noir a little nervous. He then asks her what if he turns out to be right, to which she promises to lift her skirt to show him the plot armor and tells him she likes his ugly face. Afterward, he places his hand on the book, and all his abilities pop up on the pages like a video game character's stats. Her face flushes with embarrassment as she realizes the truth, and, with a shaky voice, she admits that he truly is Olivia's successor. But then the perverted Noir immediately demands that she lift her skirt. She shyly shows him her plot shield, which increases his wiener life points. After completing his registration, he tells her that he needs 300,000 reals within a week, to which she suggests he catch some rainbow grasshoppers, which are very rare and hard to find. However, she explains that this task is meant for D rank levels, but they have also started giving it to E rank trash. After reaching the grasshopper's location, he starts thinking he can quickly find the grasshopper using the Great Sage skill, but to avoid the side effects of the headache, he would need a first aid kiss from Emma, and since she isn't with him, he decides to create a skill to get rid of his headache. When he realized it would cost 300 life points, the stinky bastard hesitated but eventually went ahead and created the headache immunity skill. After that, he activated the Great Sage, which easily revealed the location of the grasshoppers to him, but he still started getting slight headaches despite having the headache immunity skill. While he was collecting grasshoppers, Emma came running like a mad bull and tried to punch him. However, he managed to dodge just in time, but they both lost their balance and tumbled to the ground together. She then asked why he became an adventurer without consulting her, to which he explained that it could be hazardous for her, but she reminded him of the promise he made during their childhood to always stay by her side, no matter what. She then said she would help alleviate his headaches when he used the Great Sage skill to complete his quests. However, he told her he had already solved the headache by creating a skill, but she could still kiss him anytime as a greeting. He also mentioned that he still had a slight headache, which made Emma happy, and she helped him by giving him a vitamin kiss. Later, back at the guild, Lola gave him 250,000 reals, the most money he had ever received in his worthless life. She then clings him and tells him seductively that his next quest is to kill some monsters and whispers in his ear that if he needs anything he can ask for it. Upon hearing this, Emma, in a fit of jealousy, grabs his hand and places it in the middle of her milky mountain. She then tells Lola that she will join Noir on this quest. Lola responds that she is in charge of Noir and that he is a valuable ally to her, so she should stay out of it. Emma replies that she and Noir have been friends since childhood and will always stick together until death parts them, but this tension between them heats up rapidly, like a wiener ready to ejaculate. However, the crowd of virgin loser onlookers starts enjoying this shit drama, but then Noir begins to shower both of them with compliments, and his words are so flattering that they calm down. After a while, they reach their next task location, where two ugly goblins of the same level as Emma suddenly appeared. They decided to fight one goblin each, so Emma drew her twin blades and moved forward to attack. On the other hand, Noir used a stone bullet to break the goblin's $1,000,000 nuts and then cut it into two pieces. Just then, the other goblin was defeated by a big unicorn rabbit. He quickly used his discerning eyes to check its level and told Emma to retreat, but she decided to fight it because if he did all the work, that girl would be impressed and then cling to him again like a stubborn poop stain on a toilet seat. Suddenly, the rabbit attacked her with its claws, but she dodged it. However, the rabbit kept striking her rapidly, one after the other, but she dodged all its attacks with her speed and agility and countered with a wind strike, which made the rabbit even angrier. Just then, the rabbit jumped and caused an earthquake with his thick ass, moving forward to finish her off, but then Noir shot the rabbit with a stone bullet and knocked it away, allowing them to hide in the forest in time. At that moment, Emma was feeling sad, and she asked in a sorrowful voice why she couldn't defeat it, thinking she was weak and maybe only meant for the bed. Hearing this, Noir tried to cheer her up by suggesting that the rabbit had a vital point she couldn't reach, but his words didn't make her feel better. Still, he didn't want to see her sad, so he decided to upgrade her dual weapon dagger skill. However, when he used the discerning eyes skill and saw that it would cost many life points, he chose to edit Emma's skill instead, which was much cheaper than the dagger upgrade. He then revealed that he could make her stronger, but she has to do something in return, to which she replied that she would do anything. He told her that he would have to nibble her ears. Upon hearing this, her eyes went wide in shock, like a deer caught in headlights. After a moment, she found her voice and, blushing slightly, said out loud he could do whatever he wanted with her. Hearing this, Noir's pants started to tighten, and he looked like his rod was about to burst into happiness. When he began nibbling her ear, a shiver ran down her spine, and then she felt waves of desire and heat coursing through her with each teasing nibble, driving her wild. However, she couldn't bear it anymore and started moaning loudly, which attracted the rabbit's attention. Noir then quickly nibbled her ear and increased his life points, but it was too late because the rabbit attacked them from behind, causing them to fall away. Just then, the wild rabbit quickly charged at him to make a second hole in his ass, but at the last moment, he created a stone barrier. He then swiftly upgraded Emma's stats, and as the stone shattered, Emma wounded the wild rabbit with her dagger attack and immediately finished it with a second strike. Later that evening, when they submitted the rabbit's horn to claim their reward, Lola was astonished that they had completed such a difficult quest entirely on their own. Noir then told her that Emma had single-handedly killed the large rabbit. At that moment, Emma thanked her, saying that the adventure had given her some confidence, and they resolved their differences. Noir then brought out the rabbit's corpse and presented it to the guild so everyone could taste the rare, juicy wiener meat. After a while, they all enjoyed the delicious meat together, which increased Noir's life points. After giving him his reward, everyone congratulated him because now he could enroll in the Hero Academy. However, the warm and loving atmosphere made him so happy that he promised to thank Olivia for transforming his miserable life. The next day, after forking over the enrollment fee to the academy, they were just about to leave when, out of nowhere, they dropped into a bow as a high-ranking student strutted past. He then asks her who the hell that hooker is, and Emma tells him she's Maria Albert, the daughter of Duke Albert, one of the highest nobility. After hearing this, his curiosity about her deepened, and he eagerly started checking out her stats with his skill, but was shocked to find out that a curse would take her worthless life on her 16th birthday. The next morning, Noir wakes up to find Alice sleeping on top of him. When he wakes her up, she clings to him as usual, but he doesn't mind because being close to her increases his life points. Suddenly, his dad opens the door and sees them in an awkward situation, so he immediately closes the door and shouts in frustration. Later in the city, Noir meets Emma and they head to the academy together. However, just then, Noir changes his puny mind and takes her to a nearby forest, where he increases his life points by sucking on her lips. After that, we see them heading to their class at the academy. He opens the door and enters, but the students inside notice his badge and realize he is a low-ranking trash baronet, whispering that they can ignore him. However, a boy named Alan pushes him aside and introduces himself to Emma. Just then, Hayworth comes up to her and cheerfully says that she is only for his bed. At that moment, Noir silently curses his useless dad. A bubble boy approaches him, but as soon as he sees his baronet badge, he immediately leaves. Suddenly, Maria enters, and after looking around, she walks up to Noir and greets him by his full name, which surprises everyone, and they wonder how she knows this trash. After she leaves, the bubble boy returns to him because he realizes that Noir is quite close to Maria, so he tries to introduce himself, but Noir ignores him. Later, we see everyone on the grounds where Elna Stong stands on her sword, revealing that she was a useless mercenary before becoming a teacher. She then licks her lips and promises she won't let anyone go until she's satisfied with their performance. After this, she chooses Noir from the useless crowd as her punching bag for the self-defense training lesson and asks him to take out his sword and attack her. He took out his sword, and when he saw her level 232 stats, a look of shock flickered across his ugly face. Despite this, he attacked her with his best effort, but she quickly dodged using a skill called backstep. After this, she asked him to try out the skill and immediately advanced to attack him. He couldn't even react and received a hard blow to the stomach, causing him to fall to the ground in pain like a sack of potatoes. However, she quickly heals him, but seeing this, everyone becomes frightened. She then tells everyone that if they can successfully perform the backstep technique, she promises them a reward and assures them it will be worth their effort. Noir asks about the prize, to which she responds by showing a little glimpse of the milky airbag and saying in a playful voice that she will do something they will surely enjoy. Seeing this, a tidal wave of hormones rushes through the veins of every virgin loser guy in the crowd, making them feel a powerful surge of excitement in their wiener, ready to burst. Just then, Noir uses his skills to upgrade his backstep ability and successfully dodges Elna's attack in one attempt, leaving everyone amazed. Soon after, Noir asks her for his reward, but unfortunately, she gives him an ass massage, which the other useless guys watch with lustful eyes and say that many people crave this, including my viewers.
What do you mean by that?
However, it is more painful for Noir as he is struggling to breathe, but then she ends the session by rubbing her ass on his ugly face. After the massage, he stands up and notices that his life points have increased significantly. After a while, Elna asks them to pair up for the next lesson, but then she walks up to the two and insists that Emma and Noir can't pair up because they are dating, but then they reveal that they are just childhood friends. She also stopped Maria and her friend Amain from pairing up, so the class's number 1 pervert came to pair up with Maria. However, she declined his invitation, saying he couldn't satisfy her. She then announced that she chose to pair up with the honest trash baronet, Noir, instead of someone from a high noble family because they put their worthless lives on the line for the kingdom. As soon as they shook hands, his sister Alice sensed it with her cheap spidey sense and started yelling in class, disrupting the session and embarrassing herself. After that, Elna tells everyone to practice passive defense techniques, which means they must throw their partners around, so everyone pairs up and gets ready. However, Noir upgraded his passive defense skills, which was very cheap. When she threw him, he fell on his ass as expected, but suddenly Maria fell on top of his face with her soft, milky mountains, causing him to start choking. Just then, Amain rushes over and pulls her off him, and seeing this, Noir realizes that this curse is slowly ruining her worthless life. He then used the editor skill to remove the curse but found that it cost 4 times more than his OnlyFans subscription, so he asked the Great Sage for the best way to gain life points. He replied that he should line up all the girls present here and clap all their plots one by one, which would earn him 2,000 LP. However, Noir tells him that 2,000 LP is insufficient to use the skill, and even though he has headache immunity, his head starts hurting as usual, so he begs Emma to kiss him. Hearing this, she turns red with embarrassment, but then he goes ahead and kisses her in front of everyone without permission, leaving everyone's jaws on the floor in shock. Seeing this, Elna was extremely jealous and angry like a monster because no one had clapped her yet, so she sent him to run 15 laps around the school as punishment. Later that day, they went to the guild. As soon as they entered, Lola panicked because her crush saw her looking messy. Once she runs inside, the other receptionist reveals she has gone to fix her ugly makeup. After explaining Maria's case to Lola, she mentioned that she has a friend named Luna, who is a priestess and can exorcise the curse. However, she also said that Luna has stopped dealing with curse-related matters for some reason, and her schedule is full for the next 3 months. He then asked why her friend had stopped taking curse-related cases, and Lola said she didn't know the reason either. However, just then, he starts thinking that Maria helped a useless person like him in the past, so he decides to do his best to save her worthless life before her 16th birthday, which is in a week. He then asks Lola to introduce him to her priestess friend. Later, Lola arrived at the temple, which had a very long line of useless people waiting for treatment, and some people were coming out of the temple looking completely cured and happy. Meanwhile, Luna was trying to rest after spending a lot of energy helping useless people, but at that moment, she entered the room to meet her and found her exhausted. On the other hand, Noir goes to the dungeon to meet Olivia, but she was angry with him because he has not visited her in a long time. She then complained that she had been bored because he wasn't around. However, Noir apologized to her and explained that he was busy dealing with a curse involving the Duke's daughter. Hearing this, Olivia mentioned that the Duke's daughter might be suffering from a curse inherited from her useless ancestors, and told him that he could reverse the curse with his skill. However, he would need 10,000 life points for that, so she suggested letting the priest girl handle it. After this, he asks what the priest looks like, so she calls him over and says seductively that they are partially elf. She also mentioned that if he fulfilled his desires with her, it would help increase his LP quite rapidly, which made his nose start bleeding just thinking about it. However, she says that he still won't be able to get 10,000 LP that quickly, so she told him about a forbidden skill called Lucky Lecher that would give him an indescribable experience and increase his LP by 300 each time. Hearing this, he immediately created and activated it. After some time, in the city, Noir meets Emma, who tells him from a distance that Cleric will be coming to meet him soon. Hearing this, he bolts toward her, but trips over a damn cat and crashes face first into her milky tits, increasing his life points. Soon after, he notices that the girls around him are acting strangely because of the wind, and when he sees their plots, his life points begin to increase one after another. He then realizes this is due to his new skill, which could become a problem for him later. So he uses another skill called Editor to modify Lucky Lecher, so that it does not activate during critical situations, and then he feels proud of his quick thinking, which brings a smirk to his ugly face. Seeing this, Emma immediately starts arguing with him, while Lola and Luna watch from a distance. Once things settle down between them, Lola introduces her to both. Later, inside the restaurant, Noir reveals to her that the cursed person is Maria Duke's daughter. When Luna hears this, she admits she checked in on Maria a while back, but chose not to help. When asked why, she said she couldn't explain the reason behind it. Luna then asks how Maria is coping, and he responds that Maria's ass won't be able to withstand the curse for even a week. Luna feels a wave of disappointment and desperation, but Lola lifts her spirits by reminding her that she heals hundreds of useless people daily, so there's no need to take responsibility for just one worthless person. Seeing Luna, he starts to worry and wonders why she is blaming herself for it, and then he suspects there might be a hidden reason behind her feelings, so he uses his skill to check her stats, revealing that her useless lifespan will be shortened due to the power of the curse. Later, on the way back, Noir thought that Elf lived much longer than useless humans, but Maria's curse was so powerful that her lifespan couldn't cover it. At that moment, Luna changed her mind and decided to help Maria, which was shocking. Soon after, he tells them he wants to speak to Luna alone, and then after heading into an alley, he reveals that he has seen her stats and mentions he is aware of the danger to her life, but she cuts him off before he can finish. Then, she tells him with a smile that she wants to be like her mother, who was a priestess and saved worthless people from curses until the end of her life. But then they hear a loud noise. When they rushed over, they found an ugly child severely injured at the worksite. Lola begged her to heal him, and then she pulled out a gun from her ass, and after that, she fired off something called Healing Shot on him, which healed him instantly. Seeing this, everyone was so impressed with her performance that they were practically ready to throw their underwear at her. But suddenly, she went silent and crashed face first onto the floor like she just got a Windows error. When Noir bends down to help her, she tremblingly tells him that curses are scary, and then he checks her stats and finds that whenever she uses too much healing, her cowardice skill gets activated. After waking up, she apologizes for her useless actions and tells them to forget about it. She then cheerfully says that Maria needs help, but seeing that her legs are still trembling like a malfunctioning vibrator, Noir suggests they find another way. Finally, she blurted out that if she performed the exorcism, she would kick the bucket faster than a chicken on a hot grill, and the thought of that scared the shit out of her. Hearing this, Lola became so mad that she shoved Luna against the wall, fuming that she'd kept this juicy little secret locked up tighter than a nun's vagina for so long. Just then, she moves to slap Luna, but she changes gears, gives her a warm hug, and apologizes to her, saying she's sorry she didn't realize how much pain she was going through, but the eyes of all three except Noir start dripping real hard with tears. Meanwhile, Noir looked at her curse skill and thought that the best solution would be to replace the lifespan with a financial cost, which would require 4,000 life points. That evening, they all sat together with worry written on their ugly faces when Noir revealed that he could save both of them, but now he doesn't have enough LP to use that skill. Later, outside the coffee shop, He explained LP to them and handed over a list of ways to increase it, asking them to find a way to boost his LP and improve Luna's financial situation. After hearing this, Emma and Luna exchanged concerned glances, doubting that there could be any simple solution to such a complex issue. At the moment, Lola informs them that a group of perverted nobles hosts a weekly event called the Haram Pride event. She believes that participating in this disgraceful gathering might be the key to solving their problem. After a week of eager anticipation, they finally gathered at the Colosseum for the event, which was bursting at the seams with enthusiastic spectators. The host, whose face only a mother could pretend to love, steps forward and announces that tonight they have 10 daring men who will compete against each other to win 1 million reals by showing off their hot girlfriends' booties in front of drooling spectators. Hearing this announcement, the perverted audience becomes thrilled and eagerly awaits the start of the competition. Seeing this, they all feel a wave of fear wash over them, and sensing their unease, Lola explains to them that the host and his audience are virgin losers who couldn't find attractive partners themselves, so they enjoy watching other guys' girlfriends. Hearing this, Noir gets so scared that he starts sweating like a fountain from his face to his ass and eventually collapses. On the other side, AniMaan enters the room with medicine, only to find that Maria's condition has deteriorated. Filled with anxiety, she rushes to care for her, but it's clear that the curse is slowly pulling her closer to death, and in that desperate moment, AniMaan prays for a miracle to save her life. Meanwhile, the event kicked off at the Colosseum, where Lola warned them that the audience would hurl insults and deliver derogatory remarks. She also informs them that their harem performance will be scrutinized and judged harshly, which only heightens the stakes for everyone involved. When the host called them up, the first pair came on stage, and then a girl with a pig-like nose introduced herself and blew a kiss to the audience, which momentarily stunned the audience into silence. But that silence didn't last long, and soon the crowd started calling her ugly and declaring that her nose was a pig's worst nightmare. After this, the host added insult to injury by telling the girl that the kiss she blew was like spreading feces on the ground. Seeing this, Noir's team becomes completely terrified while the audience continues to shout harsh, insulting comments at the first pair. Eventually, the host quieted the audience and revealed the first team score: 61 points out of 3,000, which shattered their confidence. After all of this, Emma fearfully says she wants to go home, and Lola tells her she can go because the audience won't like her big forehead anyway. And hearing those words, Emma becomes furious and yells that she is not going home. After that, one by one, the remaining teams faced a relentless storm of brutal insults from the audience, each round more brutal than the last, like a train wreck of shit. But then Team 9 took the stage and completely turned the situation around. When Lola sees this team, she tells everyone that it is a daring team from their rival guild, Lamu. The audience finds their hot girls so attractive and stunning that they stop being rude and score 2,700 out of 3,000. Just then, Noir looks at the audience and thinks that the crowd's frustration is growing, imagining what would happen if his useless girls failed, but then he dismisses the thought. However, when the host calls out the final team, the crowd gets ready to attack with their harsh stares, which scares Emma a lot. But then, Noir calms her down. After that, Emma walked onto the stage with a smile, and despite her shyness, she confidently introduced herself to the audience. For a brief moment, silence hangs in the air, but then they erupt, shouting that if they could bury their faces in her milky mountains, all their bullshit problems would magically vanish. Then, Luna introduces herself, saying that if anyone gets sick or hurt, they should let her know because she has a healing shot with their names on it that hits them like a shot of adrenaline, making the crowd forget their damn manners and drool over her sexy confidence like a pack of starving wolves. Finally, Lola introduces herself with a smile and declares that she's eagerly waiting for all the adventurous souls ready to join her guild. However, at that moment, the host announced they had earned 2,925 points, setting a new record. Noir and the girls started to celebrate their victory, but their joy was short-lived when the host announced that the challenge was far from over. The host then puts a mysterious mask on his ugly face and says they need to satisfy the audience by acting out scenarios picked by the audience. The first scenario is how to care for their shivering master on a cold night. Hearing this, The girls ask for a few minutes and huddle together to plot their master plan. After making their plan, the girls start rubbing their massive jugs against Noir's body to generate heat, and seeing this, the host's pants get tight and there is a crack on his mask, so he quickly stops them. The host then says that their last scenario is to show how powerful their harem is. In response, the girls shower Noir with kisses, which causes the host's mask to break and brings tears to the audience's eyes, and they start cheering so loudly that it feels like the Colosseum might almost burst from the overwhelming noise. At that moment, the host throws prize money at them, and they quickly pick up the reward and come out. Since Noir is fully loaded with cash and life points, they quickly make their way to Maria's mansion. But as soon as they arrive, they find Animaan sitting outside, tears streaming down her face. Noir informed her that he had reviewed Maria's stats and had come intending to cure her. On the other hand, Maria was unconscious and dreaming of her tragic and miserable childhood. In her dream, she couldn't enjoy life like other children because her useless ancestors had defeated a sorcerer who then cursed her worthless family with a death curse. Unfortunately, the curse only affects her, and it slowly begins to drain her life away, but she realizes that she cannot escape the curse, so she decides to live her life proudly as the Duke's daughter until the very end. Meanwhile, they all enter Maria's room, and then he introduces himself to the Duke. Just then, the Duke spots Luna and asks if she's come to lift the curse. She responds that she had previously refused their requests because Maria's curse is so powerful that it could take her useless life. After this, the Duke advises her not to take such a risk, but then Noir informs him that he has modified her skills so that it affects her finances instead of her lifespan, so he doesn't need to worry anymore. At that moment, Animaan interrupts and says he is exactly what Maria expected. She had sensed he had some special power since their first meeting, but her curiosity grew when he broke all records at the Hero Academy by defeating such a powerful monster. He then asked how Maria had figured out he'd kicked the Reaper's ass since he hadn't bragged about it, to which he tells him that Maria is skilled at reading other people's emotions. However, just then, Maria wakes up and asks Noir why he's helping her, to which Noir replies that she's the only noble who accepts him despite his trash rank, and he wants to repay her. After this, Luna begins the complex process of lifting the curse from Maria's body, and suddenly she glows like a disco ball at a vampire party. However, the wicked curse tried to resist fiercely, but Luna mustered all her strength and determination to expel it. After an intense struggle, she successfully eradicated the curse from her ass, leaving Maria free from its grasp. After the light show, Luna is breathing like someone has gangbanged her, but then Noir confirms with his discerning eye skill and tells that the curse is gone. After confirming, everyone began crying with joy and hugged Maria. She thanked Luna, who responded with a smile, saying she felt a sense of relief and ease after banishing that curse from her ass. Maria then held Noir's hand and promised to repay him for the rest of her life, leaving the other girls staring at her with poker faces. After they stepped outside the mansion, Emma leaned in and told her she was pretty sure Maria had fallen head over heels in love with him, and Lola commented that they just gained another rival in the love circus. Just then, Luna blushingly takes a deep breath and confesses that she had also fallen in love with Noir, which shocks both of them, and then Emma bursts out in anger. Later, Noir arrives at the dungeon to meet Olivia and shares the good news that they've successfully lifted the curse, but she tells him that she is sensing the scent of more girls around him than before. In response, he explains that he has received many first aid kisses to gain life points. Hearing this, she is surprised, but then she also demands a kiss. After repeatedly asking, he finally approaches her, but in the end, he only dares to kiss her on the forehead. The next day, Noir and the gang receive 2 fat-ass chests overflowing with gold coins from the Duke as a pathetic thank you for saving his useless daughter. After counting the absurd pile of cash, each member pocketed a disgusting 100 million. Just then, Luna announces that she will use her money to renovate her clinic, while Noir says he's considering spending some of his newfound wealth on hentai and OnlyFans subscriptions. But then, Emma suggests that he should open a shop selling monster materials, as it's a great way to build a future, and she offers to help him run the shop enthusiastically. At that moment, Lola interrupts and claims she can handle the shop's accounting much better because she doesn't think Emma's giant mountain can do the calculations. Hearing this, Emma gets angry, but then Luna says that she wants to help him, so the three of them start arguing, which makes Noir feel awkward. So he quickly makes an excuse and runs away. Watch this next video, and, my fellow plot-wrecking legends, don't forget to blast your sperm all over the subscribe button or flood the like button with your piss. Don't hold back.